Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Oh, Nitya Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribo, Nitya Gaura Haribo, Haribo. Jayom Vishnu Pad Panamhamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Tata Shishanamai Sabai Charanavinda Bhakti Vedanta Samashila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnu Pad Panamhamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Tata Shishanamai Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nastaprayeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be reading from Durdharas Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter number 57, texts 38 and 39, which are presented together. The title of the chapter is Satyajit Murdered, the Jewel Returned. Quite a title. Tathāpi durdharas anyais tvayy āstāṁ su-vrate maṇiḥ kintu agra-jaḥ samyaṅ na pratyeti maṇiṁ prati darśayasva mahā-bhāga bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā makhās vartante rukma-vedayaḥ tathāpi durdharas tvanyas āstāṁ su-vrate maṇiḥ kintu agra-jaḥ samyaṅ na pratyeti maṇiṁ prati darśayasva mahā-bhāgo bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā makhās vartante rukma-vedayaḥ tathāpi durdharas tvayy āstāṁ su-vrate maṇiḥ kintu agra-jaḥ samyaṅ na pratyeti maṇiṁ prati darśayasva mahā-bhāgo bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā makhās vartante rukma-vedayaḥ tathāpi durdharas na pratyeti maṇiṁ prati darśayasva mahā-bhāga bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā vartante rukma-vedayaḥ pratyeti maṇiṁ prati darśayasva mahā-bhāga bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā makhās vartante rukma-vedayaḥ tathāpi durdharas tvayy āstāṁ su-vrate maṇiḥ kintu agra-jaḥ samyaṅ pratyeti maṇiṁ prati mahā-bhāga bandhūnāṁ śāntim āvaha avyucchinnā Vaishnavis. Tathāpi durdharas anyais. Tathāpi, nevertheless, durdharaḥ, impossible to hold on to. 2, but, anyaiḥ, by others. Tvayi, with you. Āstāṁ, should remain. Su-vrate, O trustworthy keeper of vows. Maṇiḥ, the jewel. Kintu, only. Maṇiṁ, me. Agra-jaḥ, my elder brother. Samyaṅ, completely. Na pratyeti, does not believe. maṇiṁ prati, concerning the jewel. Darśayasva, please show it. mahā-bhāga, O most fortunate one. bandhūnāṁ, to my relatives. śāntim, peace. āvaha, bring. avyucchinnā, uninterrupted. makhās, sacrifices. Te, your. Adya, now. Vartante, are going on. Rukma, of gold. Vedayaḥ, whose altars. Translation: nevertheless, the jewel should remain in your care, O trustworthy akrura, because no one else can keep it safely. But please show the jewel just once, since my elder brother does not fully believe what I have told him about it. In this way, O most fortunate one, you will pacify my relatives. Everyone knows you have the jewel, for you are now continually performing sacrifices on altars of gold. Please repeat. Nevertheless, the jewel should remain in your care, O trustworthy akrura, because no one else can keep it safely. But please show the jewel just once, since my elder brother does not fully believe what I have told him about it. In this way, O most fortunate one, you will pacify my relatives. Everyone knows you have the jewel, for you are now continually performing sacrifices on altars of gold. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Although technically Satyabhama's son had a right to the jewel, Lord Krishna decided to leave the jewel in the care of Akrura, who was using the jewel's wealth to continually perform religious sacrifices. Indeed, Akrura's ability to perform such rituals on altars of gold was an indication of the jewel's potency. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Rindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to beg the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis so that we might have a nice discussion today on this most glorious Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, Canto 10, Chapter 57, text number 38 and 39, Just the translation again. Nevertheless, the jewel should remain in your care, O trustworthy Akrura, because no one else can keep it safely. But please show the jewel just once, since my elder brother does not fully believe what I have told him about it. In this way, O most fortunate one, you will pacify my relatives. Everyone knows you have the jewel, for you are now continually performing sacrifices on altars of gold. So this is a very interesting pastime. Actually, 2 full chapters are dedicated to this pastime of the Shamantaka jewel. And, there are many great morals to be learned. One of them in which is that anything not used in Krishna's service will be the source of our demise. Srila Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur comments in a commentary on one of the prior verses that which is the remover of all of your misfortune, that same object becomes the source of all of your misfortune if it is not used in Krishna's service. So that comment implies that there is a great responsibility upon us when we come into possession of anything, because it can have great potency. Like this Shamantaka jewel, it was very powerful. We saw in the prior chapter, that it had the power to remove famine. There were no calamities, no death, nothing untimely, if it was being worshipped properly. We know that it had the ability to produce significant amounts of gold. 170 pounds of gold daily it could produce. So this jewel, it had great potency. But we also see that this jewel became the cause of so much misfortune. Death, accusations and rumors, destruction of families, So this jewel, while very potent, also has great destructive capabilities. So Krishna here is being very cautious to determine who should hold this Shamantaka jewel. Satyajit, he got this jewel through his devotion. He was worshipping Suryadev, and it was bestowed upon him. And for some time, he was maintaining it quite nicely. But then, as we know, Krishna made a request of him to donate it to him so that he could pass it on to Ugrasena. But Satyajit became overcome with greed from possession of this jewel, and thus he refused, and it became a great offense at the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we know what unfolded from there. He lost his brother, and ultimately he lost his own life. So this shows the great risk and reward of something so valuable like this opulence. So any opulence that we see in this material world, it has great potency, but it also has great potential for danger. So Krishna in this verse is saying that no one else can keep it safely. It's a very important statement, that this is not something easy to hold. And I think the instruction for us, more broadly, is that any opulence that we may come across in this material world, it must be handled very, very carefully. We aspire for these shiny, shiny opulences. I want some wealth. But great wealth can plunge us into this life of sense enjoyment. It can remove us from Srila Prabhupada's perfect principle of simple living, high thinking. So it can distract us from our ultimate mission in life. Some fame. If we acquire some fame, then it can take us away from dedicating our lives to glorifying the Supreme Lord, and instead searching out for our own glories in society. And so this fame can become very dangerous for us. Power. We see power destroying so many things in our devotional life. we achieve some position, become, preacher, head pujari, some HOD, some position. All the qualities that brought us to that position sometimes become lost when we occupy that position of power. And so these opulences, they are very powerful and have great potency, but they must be handled with great care. And I think this is one of the great lessons we get from this pastime of the Shamantaka jewel, and particularly in this verse, where Krishna is being very judicious in his handing out of this jewel. As we read in the purport, the rightful heir is clear. And we heard in yesterday's class by Maharaj that, how the heir is determined based on who is present in the family, whether there are sons, whether or not wives present, etc. So there is a whole prescribed process in Shastra. The Manu Samhita explains how heirs should be passed on. But in this case, given the significant danger of this jewel, we see that Krishna is deviating from that to protect all involved in this process. So this is very, very important. And so these opulences, we understand, they must be handled with great care and attention. And ultimately, we know that who is the source of all these opulences? It is the Supreme Lord. And so anything that we try to use in separation from Him will always result in our destruction. That is the guaranteed fact. So Krishna here has made this careful decision, and he has made Akrura the rightful possessor of this Shamantaka jewel. So why? What is the qualification of Akrura? Krishna has indicated here in this verse. He uses the word su-vrate, which we see in the translation means, O trustworthy keeper of vows. So su-vrate, we can unpack that a little bit to understand that this is the qualification that Krishna saw in Akrura to be able to responsibly manage this Shamantaka jewel, which has already created so much challenge. So, su means good or trustworthy. Trustworthy means that we can be relied upon to use it in a productive way. That means we are trustworthy, right? So when we are given some responsibility somewhere, our senior gives us some responsibility, they're hoping that we'll use that responsibility that's been given to us in a trustworthy way, in a reliable way, in a way that aligns with their expectation. So here Akrura is being called trustworthy, meaning that he is hopefully going to be able to use this jewel in the way that Krishna wants him to. And vrate means the keeper of vows. So to be determined to stick to that vow is very important. It's easy to make a vow, right? Every January, we make all these vows, New Year's resolutions. And by January 5th, 6th, if that long, what happens to those vows? Long gone. So making a vow is easy, but keeping it, staying determined on the path is very difficult, because many temptations will cross our eyes, our ears, our tongue, our smell and touch, the senses. Many temptations will cross. And so to stay determined to keep that vow is not so easy. So Akrura, he has shown that he has a track record of remaining trustworthy. What is that track record? Well, he's been holding this jewel and keeping it on this altar of gold that we see in this verse. And he's been worshiping it very nicely in Kasi. And there he has acquired the name Dhanapati. So he's become the master of charity. He has understood the charitable potency of this jewel and has been using its wealth to give charity to the brahmanas. We know Krishna is very dear to the brahmanas. Namam brahmane devaya, go brahman hitaya cha. He is very favorable to the cows and to the brahmanas. So Akrura has shown a track record of being trustworthy thus far in maintaining that jewel. And it's no ordinary feat, because we see Satyajit had this jewel. And he was trustworthy for some time. He was actually using it in Dwarka quite productively. But was he able to maintain that? No. Of course, again, repeating, when he was asked to give it in charity, he became attached to it. So remaining trustworthy is very challenging. And this is the fickle nature of our conditioned position. But not only us, even great personalities struggle in the possession of opulences. So their great struggle should not be an opportunity for us to, draw criticism or make fun, but actually should be a stark warning to all of us that even the slightest opulence for us can sweep us away from the path of devotional service. Lord Indra, the great Lord Indra, was given a great power to disperse rains to all the living entities so that they can subsist from the rains emanating from yajna. But we know that position of power ultimately led to some pride. And did he remain trustworthy in that possession of power? No. We know he took that power, who was given to him by none other than Krishna himself, and was trying to use that to destroy all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So we see time and time again that this opulence, it has great danger for us. But we also see, in other instances, great devotees who are able to handle these opulences and not be swayed by the temptations and remain fixed in their vows. Maybe one of the greatest examples, Srila Haridas Thakur. He was acquiring fame for his attachment to the chanting of the holy names. And so the envious king became emboldened to try to destroy his fame, and of course sent this very attractive prostitute to try to attract Haridas Thakur. But was she successful? No. What's that? Yes. He was fixed in his devotion. He was attached at a much higher platform than some fickle opulence of some fame. We'll talk about what he was attached to maybe in a few moments. But so while this opulence is very challenging and very dangerous, we have great examples before us about how to be responsible with this opulence. So how can we become trustworthy? Let's spend maybe a couple of minutes talking about how to build this ability to handle whatever opulences may come our way in a responsible way, so that we can push forward this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. So this trustworthy position of opulence, it starts with good intelligence. And intelligence has two functions, and they are sequential. So the first function of our intelligence is to discriminate, is to understand what is good and what is bad. So from discrimination, then the second function of intelligence comes, which is determination. Determination to follow what we have learned from discrimination. So after we discriminate what is right or wrong, then we remain determined to follow it. So determination alone is not success. We see great examples of determination. Hiranyakashipu was greatly determined, went through intense austerity, but he was determined to kill Lord Vishnu and to destroy his great devotee Prahlad Maharaj, his own son, very determined. But that determination was misplaced. We see determination in Ravan, right? He was determined to enjoy Mother Sita. How strong, how unbreakable was his determination? Everything was collapsing all around him. And yet, his determination was unfazed. But that is not good determination. What happened? What was the flaw? That determination did not follow good discrimination. So the first step we must have is to discriminate right from wrong. But the other side is also true. We may know that what is right and wrong. Virtually everything we have done wrong in our life, if we objectively self-reflect. I did something wrong. I knew in the heart of hearts I shouldn't do this. But I did it. What happened? My discrimination was right. I had the knowledge to know what was right and wrong. But what was lacking? The determination. The determination to follow through. So in order to remain in this trustworthy position with such opulences, we must have this good intelligence that carries discrimination and determination. Both are required. And, this ability to remain determined, why is it so hard to follow? We know what is right. We know what is wrong. Arjuna asked the same question to Krishna in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna explains in black and white terms. If you work in karma yoga, if you surrender all the fruits to Krishna, ultimately engaging in devotional service, you will achieve perfection of life. That is the result of option A. In option B, you work according to your own desires, attached to whatever you want. And Krishna says, what is the result of option B? You will be ruined. You will be ruined in your endeavor for perfection. So Arjuna's confused. Wait a minute. It's so obvious what to do. Option A, I achieve perfection of life, eternal happiness, no stress, anxiety, fear. And option B, birth, death, old age, disease, all kinds of suffering. So Arjuna's confused and he asks Krishna, wait a minute, then what is this force? Because virtually everybody is engaged in material life. So he says, what is this seemingly invincible force that is pulling one away? They know how to discriminate what is good and bad, but why they can't stay determined to follow that discrimination? And what does Krishna say? It is lust only. It is this lust. This material lust, it drags one away from their determination. So if we are finding ourselves in the practice of devotional life, finding it hard to stay determined, we can go to this root cause and see where lust may have taken some strategic positions. Because Krishna explains in the coming verses of in that chapter where this lust resides, in the senses, in the intelligence, in the mind. And then he explains how to remove it as well. But this lust, it is what breaks down that determination. And we saw already, Krishna had spoken in the 2nd chapter, this cycle. What happens when attachment develops, then lust, then this, anger, and ultimately this loss of intelligence. This loss of intelligence just before bewilderment and fall down. Krishna says loss of intelligence. When we lose intelligence, we lose this determination and discrimination. So this is the formula to follow if we want to remain strong in our vows. Again, Akrura is being celebrated as this trustworthy keeper of the vows. So maybe just a couple of comments on, how do we build our determination in some practical ways? What is the fuel for our determination? So strong faith is one of the great fuels of determination. Suppose an announcement is made and you have strong faith in this announcement, that if by some miracle you are able to stay awake during this entire class, I know that's hard, but if you are able to stay awake during this entire class and not sleep for one moment, you'll get 1 month unlimited mahaprasadam for the following month. Anybody would find it hard to stay determined to stay awake? No. Why? Because I have faith. Wow, a month's worth of mahaprasad? 35 minutes of staying awake? All right, I can do it. So it says faith that fuels the determination. But if we say that if you hear Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, you chant your rounds nicely, you can achieve eternal life in the spiritual world. I fall asleep. What's worth more, a month's mahaprasad or eternal life in the spiritual world? We know by logic, by intelligence. But what's lacking? Our faith. So we have to work to enhance our faith. Right? And knowledge is also very important. You know, if I have knowledge that Radha Shyam Sundar has the most opulent offerings, and these offerings are so relishable, and they are my favorite. If I have knowledge about that, then what happens to my determination to stay awake? It is intensified. So like this, the more knowledge that we acquire through reading Srila Prabhupada's books, the more faith that we can develop through the prescribed practice of devotional service, that will fuel our determination to keep our vows, to keep what we know is right, right, and what we know is wrong, wrong, to keep on that path of righteousness. It takes that faith and knowledge. So the instruction that we get here from Krishna is that we must have that reliable trustworthiness. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna celebrates this vrata, this keeper of vows, or this endeavor for determination. When he's explaining the Mahatma, the great souls, in chapter 9 he explains the duratmas and then the Mahatmas. And he tells, Arjuna that this, Mahatmanas tu mam partha, right? Daivim pakitam ashritaha. That these great souls, they're protected by this divine energy. And what do? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas cha durdharaḥ. Durdharaḥ. Again, vrita. They are endeavoring with great enthusiasm, great determination. So Krishna is establishing that the quality of the Mahatma is that they endeavor with sincerity, with great enthusiasm. We know Rupa Goswami, in Nectar of Instruction, he gives us in this 6-part formula for success in bhakti. What is the first ingredient? Utsahan. To endeavor with great intelligence. Right? The translation is to be enthusiastic. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains, what does it mean to be enthusiastic? Not just to endeavor. Monkeys endeavor, chickens endeavor as well. But to endeavor with intelligence. So Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport. That is the meaning of to be enthusiastic. To endeavor with intelligence. So using this ability to discriminate and then fueling our determination. So this is the requirement to be able to handle such a potent jewel like this Shamantaka jewel. And I'll just conclude with just a short discussion on, of course, the great jewel that we all have that far surpasses this Shamantaka jewel. And what is that jewel? It is the holy names of the Lord. This Harinam Chintamani. The holy names of the Lord. By the inconceivable mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, brought to us by the even more inconceivable mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have come in contact with the potency of the holy names. How potent are the holy names? We saw Srila Haridas Thakur, was he able to withstand the temptations? It didn't even register. It didn't even register because he was so fixed in the jewels of the holy names that the jewels of some material attachment were completely inconsequential and insignificant. And instead, that which was trying to dissuade him, here Lakshmi, she became a pure devotee to the Lord by the potency of the holy names. And when we know the pastime of the Brahmana who was worshipping Lord Shiva, looking for some great wealth and opulence, and being unlimitedly compassionate, what did Lord Shiva tell him to do? You go see the great Sanatana Goswami. He has something of great wealth. You go ask him for this touchstone that cannot produce 170 pounds of gold. How much gold it can produce? Unlimited. Whatever you touch to it, it will produce gold. So he became enthused and goes to see Sanatana Goswami. And of course we know he asked for this thing and he removes some trash, some rubbish, and gives it to him. And this Brahmana is ecstatic and is walking away, and then he thinks, wait a minute. If he's keeping this valuable touchstone under some trash, he must have something even more valuable. It's good intelligence. It's good analysis. So he turns back. Says, hey, you cheated me. You have something of more value. Otherwise you would not keep this under the trash. And Sanatana Goswami says, oh, you want something more valuable? Yes. And here comes the but. Why have we not yet fully relished the nectar of the holy names? Because of this. Sanatana Goswami said, but if you want it, you first have to deposit this touchstone in the river. Now think about that. I have this touchstone. It can produce unlimited wealth. I don't know what's behind door number 2. I don't know what he's going to give me that is more valuable. But in order for me to get it, I first have to detach from this. I have to deposit it into the river. And of course, when he came back with good intelligence, he detached. And he received the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So how do we have to receive the holy names? We also have to detach. We have to surrender our material attachments. To the extent we hold on to them, the real taste of the holy names, the real jewel of the holy names will not manifest with us. So our effort in taking to the holy name should be finding whatever attachments we have, find the strength, the determination to detach from them. Because if we do like this great Brahmana did, his requirement was much more severe than what Srila Prabhupada gave to us. Srila Prabhupada gave to us some basic principles, 4 regular principles: no meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. Take to the process of chanting. These vows are relatively small compared to what this Brahmana had to endure. But if we stick very steadfastly to these principles, then we can actually experience the great potency of the jewels of the holy name that far, far, far surpass the potency of this Shamantaka jewel. So just to summarize briefly, this Shamantaka jewel is very potent and opulent, and it has great potential, but as we know, it also has the potential to create great distress. And so if we come in possession of opulence, we must be very disciplined in knowing how to use it. And we may have the initial intelligence to understand like Satyajit did, but to stay determined, we must be very careful not to be swayed by this lust, this material attachment. and by developing our faith and knowledge through reading Srimad Bhagavatam and all of Srila Prabhupada's books, then we can remain steadfast and determined to become su-vrate, trustworthy, keeper of the vows. And if we do, then we'll be able to truly bathe in the nectar of the holy names and thus finish our business and go back home, back to Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada promised us if we follow his process. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments, corrections, clarifications? Many senior devotees are here. Please correct anything I misspoke. Please also forgive me for all the mistakes I made. Any comments or questions, corrections? Yes, Prabhuji. Microphone here, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's very enlightening, the way you explain the case of Simantak Mani. One example we can see from Ramayana is Bharat. So when Lord Ram goes to exile, Bharat takes the sandals of Lord Ram and looks after the kingdom in complete renunciation. But as far as the duties are concerned, duties, the royal duties, the responsibilities of a king on behalf of Lord Ram, Bharat performs them to the best of his ability. So much so that when Lord Ram comes and he inquires, he finds that everything has doubled, tripled, many times, many fold. So that's an amazing example of how to take responsibility on behalf of the Lord or on behalf of the spiritual master.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. In that example of Bharat Maharaj, what's beautiful is that he was the source of so much scorn from all of the residents of Ayodhya. He was because he was assumed to be complicit in the scheme that sent their beloved Lord Ram away. And despite that reputation that he was receiving, he stayed fixed in his duty. That is spectacular character. And we see many great examples in Srimad Bhagavatam of great kings. They don't run away from their opportunity, their responsibility. Ambarish Maharaj is another great example, ruling the whole world with great wealth and opulence, but fixed in his service. Thank you, Prati. Yes, Prabhuji, you have a comment?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is related to this chapter. As we've seen, because of jewel, people like citizens have doubted the reputation of Krishna, and being God himself.
I'm sorry, can you speak directly into the microphone? I'm not hearing you properly.
Okay. So, in this chapter, we can understand because of this jewel, like citizen of Dwarika, and also that 2 times people have doubted the reputation of Krishna, and being God himself, he has clarified all the doubts. So same way, like in our life as a sadhaka, we face lots of criticism which we have not done. So should we counteract or just be humble and continue our sadhana, how to handle such situation, because we don't have that much intelligence and reputation to clarify all the doubts. Yeah.
Yes. So the question is that Krishna had to protect his reputation due to so much misinformation We can see how fickle the mind is. Krishna, built the city of Dwarka, 16,108 royal palaces, so much wealth and opulence, and it was doubted whether he stole a jewel. So we can see how fickle the mind is, even against in a very pious population, nonetheless. So we can see. So when it comes to our own practice of devotional service, we have to control what we can control. We cannot control what others think of us in terms of that. But we can control our actions, right? So we should hold ourselves to the highest standard of action, doing things always governed by righteousness, whether somebody is looking or not looking. Actually, righteousness is that. One who does the right thing when nobody is looking and nobody will know. That is true righteousness. So we govern that by our actions. That is what we can control. We cannot control what others may say, good or bad. But we can take great shelter in one thing. That Krishna knows perfectly. He knows what we did, what was the mood in which we did it, and all of that. And ultimately, do we have anybody else to please besides Krishna? It does not mean that we become negligent of our relationships with all devotees, because we know what pleases Krishna most when we serve his devotees. But in terms of, controlling our reputation, we have no ability to control that. Besides, through sincere action on our own, always carrying ourselves with a humble disposition, and relying on the all-knowing Supreme Lord to handle things. So we can always rest assured that Krishna knows the absolute truth. It also is a great sense of responsibility, because we may externally show all these great things, but in the core of our heart, I may be offering pranams to somebody, and in the core of my heart thinking, what a rascal. Krishna sees that, not the pranams. So we have to be careful on both sides of that. But take comfort, Krishna knows, and always carry ourselves with the utmost sincerity, humility. And even those who might be criticizing us, defaming us, we should take a very humble and loving mood even to them. Because when we do, Krishna sees, wow, my devotee is really endeavoring to maintain relationships with all of my devotees, even those who are giving him some trouble and some agitation. Our knee-jerk reaction is to reciprocate. But that is not what's going to please Krishna. Just like a practical example. In the home, if there are two children and one child is disrupting the other child's behavior and taking their toys or disrupting their homework or whatever it is, and the receiving child still remains very kind and loving to this other child and tries to support in one way, which child is most pleasing to mother and father? That child that is, despite reasons to act inimically, maintains good character. It's very pleasing. So if we want to please Krishna, then those who might be giving us a little bit of trouble, embrace them and understand they are also the source of my purification, sent by Krishna. Thank you very much. I think that is our bell, so we'll end on time. Grahantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.